Hello and welcome back to Elden Ring. This is part 12 of the run where we will be preparing for the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. In this run we will go through every weapon, shield, armor set, talisman, spirit ash, physic tier, and cookbook that you will need no matter what build you're creating. Now, last time we went through the town of Celia and Redmane Castle, and this time, starting at the Caelem Ruin Site of Grace, we will be finishing up Caelid by heading through Dragonbarrow. And from here, we are going to head off straight east. Approaching these giant T-Rex things, there's going to be a rock, and up here, you can easily jump that gap to make it into the Dragonbarrow. But first, we're going to head over here, where there are a few golden runes that we can easily pick up. And then we can head on back. Only about 10-15 seconds lost for that, very much worth it. And you may notice something here. It's raining, which is very nice. Now, heading straight forward, you will immediately see a Site of Grace, which you can pick up. And then you can head off following this right wall path, death cliff, whatever you want to call it, until you make it to this drop. And from here, you will pretty quickly see a statue. If you don't remember, you need a giant enemy to break that for you. And here, there's a giant enemy. And there are two things about this enemy that you may notice. It is very slow, and it likes to turn around a lot. Which, a lot of the dragons are slow, but this one seems particularly slow. And it's also very, very fond of turning around, which no other dragon is, in my experience at least. Like, I've never seen a dragon turn around twice in a single combat encounter, especially in less than a minute. So this may take a few minutes for you to fully get them there. And don't forget to pick those up, as they will accumulate. But just be patient. Take it slow, take it steady. It'll take a few minutes. Eventually the dragon will get over here though. And you'll be rewarded with 3 Smithing Stone 5 as a result. Then you can head past where the dragon was in order to get to the Celia Everjail. This will get you a unique Spirit Ash in Battle Mage Hugus. So, if you're doing a magic build or a Battle Mage themed run, and you want to keep your Spirit Ashes as part of the theme, then might be worth going for. And the boss is also pretty easy, so don't worry too much about that. So, heading into this pool with the 2 dragons, you can then head up, and right here, you'll get the map for the Dragonbarrow. And you could teleport back to this side of Grace instead of running all the way back if you got it. Though, I like to limit the amount of times I teleport just because it can be a little bit jarring. So, I like to just keep moving normally as much as I can throughout this. And up here is the Isolated Merchant's Shack. Fittingly, with a merchant.
Well, there's been a... How can I help?
From him, you can purchase a ritual pot, the spiked cestus, an infinite amount of serpent arrows which cause heavy poison buildup, pretty good for a bow build, and the Land of Reeds armor set, which is the starting set for the samurai class, and the beast repellent torch, which if you have this equipped and in one of your hands, it will keep dogs and wolves and other wildlife away. So, very good. And here, if you sit down, you wait until night, you talk to him, and you sit down again, then a bell-bearing hunter will appear here as a boss. And I've pointed out one of them, I've fought one of them in this walkthrough, but that one, in my opinion, doesn't give as good of a reward. It gives, like, gravity consumables, if I remember correctly, so not as good. Though, that may interest you, so I thought I'd point it out just in case. And here, heading up towards the giant Divine Tower, is that, which blows up into a somber smithing stone 8. And you can go up and do the Divine Tower first, or you can go down here and do this first. I'm going to go down here and do this first, just because it's faster and easier. And down here, you'll be rewarded with a rune arc and a somber smithing stone 9. So we've gotten an 8 and a 9 in this one location. So there are potential there for some upgrades. For now, we are going to head back up towards the top of the Divine Tower. And this one acts a little differently than the other ones. See, this one you need to jump onto, and you need to climb the outside of. Whereas the other ones, you can typically just walk straight in, and then take an elevator up. This one requires a bit more hands-on work. So, you can head immediately to the right, where there will be an enemy, so be careful. And a stone sword key. And then you can head back over to where you first jumped over, and you can climb up the ladder. Now, I don't have like a specific route on here, so if I miss an item or two on the outside, I'm sorry, but I got everything that I could remember being here. So you climb up the ladder, you head over to the left, you take out an enemy, you jump over again, And from here, you can jump over and then head down the ladder, which there is an item down there. Or you can climb up this ladder to make it into the Divine Tower. Now, I'm going to be climbing up first, since there is a site of grace there. So, Divine Tower of Caelid, we can light the site of grace, and then we can head down. The reason I'm doing this is because if we go across first, then we would have to climb down the ladder, and then climb back up, and then climb up the ladder we already climbed up. Here there's a Newman's rune, and there's actually nothing down here. Didn't remember that at the time. So, whoops on my part. I forgot that there's nothing there. So, we're just going to teleport back to the Divine Tower of Caelid. And as you can see here, no riding your horse. Because this is a legacy dungeon. And you can go that way, ride the elevator up, and treat this like a normal Divine Tower. But going down is when it will become a legacy dungeon. And typically, in this run so far, I've given the legacy dungeons their own video. As you can see, I'm sticking back because there's an enemy hiding around the corner. So be careful on this encounter. But typically, I give the Divine, or the legacy dungeons their own videos. Not here just because the Divine Tower of Caelid is too short to be given a full walkthrough video, so it's just gonna be part of Dragonbarrow. Now here, when you jump down, it will actually break the pillar. Though you won't sustain any fall damage, so you'll be fine. And then here, as always, the most difficult boss in Dark Souls is gravity. So, be careful. Though, eventually we can make it, and we can continue our way down. And how to actually get down is a bit tricky. Though this is the way that I do it. Okay. Anyways, this is the way that I do it. It's not super safe. Though there are very few things in Caelid that are safe, so what can you do? Now, heading up this elevator brings us to the next part. Though there is quickly a ladder here, and this is a pretty long ladder. It's like a 15-20 second climb, something like that. Though it does give you a shortcut door up at the top, which allows you to skip all the nonsense we've done up to this point. And thankfully, you can descend a ladder much, much faster than you can climb up one. So, we won't have to wait too long to get back down. And heading forwards, we will run into a new enemy, the Black Flame Monk. And these enemies are very dangerous because they use the black flames. which take a lot more stamina when you try to block them, and they do a lot of damage, and damage over time. So, be careful. Though, bringing them down, we are rewarded with a rune arc, and then we can once again move along the side, and we can once again take a drop down, which will once again break the pillar, though once again, no fall damage for that. And we can then take one final elevator all the way down to the very bottom, where we are gifted with a Sight of Grace. And from there, there's one more monk that we can take on. If you want, you can run past him, though I prefer to take him out just to be thorough. Because if you leave him alive and you summon Spirit Ashes for the boss, the Spirit Ashes can go for him instead of the boss, which can be a problem. Speaking of, this is a very difficult boss, so buckle up. Though, if you have enough perseverance, you can bring him down. You will be rewarded with 94,000 runes, the Godskin Apostle armor set, and finally, the Godslayer's Greatsword, a strength, dexterity, faith-based, physical fire colossal sword with a unique skill. And I've seen some people use it. I've heard decently high praise from it, so it may be worth giving it a try. And from here, you can use any of the 3 Sights of Grace. I'm taking the Calum Runes because I didn't pick up the one in early Dragonbarrow. Now here, don't forget to level up. And if you took out the boss in War Dead Catacombs, then you should have enough golden seeds to get an 11th sip of your flask. And then from there, you can just head back into Dragonbarrow, back towards the pool with the 2 dragons that we briefly went through a few times. If you aggro the dogs, the T-Rex dogs, don't worry, as they can't get over this gap. You're perfectly safe. And if you have a ranged attack in your build, you can abuse that. Though you didn't hear that from me. But continuing on, we've taken out this side of Dragonbarrow, so now we can head towards this side. And there's this pool with the 2 dragons. There's a few items here. Nothing too special. Continuing on, here we can go right and up, or down and left. Which one you choose is up to you. I'm going to be going down and left first. Over here, there's a Sight of Grace, which you can get, and once again you can go right and up or down and left. Once again, I'm going to be going down and left. And here there will be a bear, which is how you know you're in the right place. And there will be another 2 bears that are guarding the entrance to a cave. This is our next destination, the Dragonbarrow Cave. There are 2 things of importance here, and which one you go for first is up to you. The first is to the left in the direction that Giga Bear is going, and the second is immediately off to the right here. I'm going to be going after the one to the right first. And there is a reason for that, which I'll get to. But as you can see, if you take that drop down, you're not getting back up. So you're either in this, or you're not getting your runes back. That is up to you. Here, there's a group of wolves. Take them out. And then you can continue heading down. And you take these few drops, and you'll hit these 2 enemies. These 2 enemies are the boss. It's another duo fight. And something you may notice here is these things have a lot of health. You may have noticed this with the Godskin Apostle as well, if you decided to fight them. The reason for that is you're actually supposed to do Dragonbarrow after you do the Altus Plateau. And not only that, you're supposed to do it after you do Lanedell. Possibly, this is a big possibly as I don't know, but possibly even after you've done at least a part of Mountaintops of the Giants. And you might think that I'm unhinged for that, because it's attached to Caelid. It can't be that late game, can it? But I'm taking this off of 2 pieces of information. The first is that these things are very difficult, like these bosses, and the second is this talisman. So we got 65,000 runes and the Flame Drake talisman +2. Now, this is the final Flame Drake talisman, the most powerful version of it. In case you don't know, Flame Drake Talisman +1, the weaker version of this, is found in the capital outskirts heading into Forbidden Lands after beating Morgott, the main boss in the capital. So the difficulty along with that talisman are why I'm saying you're probably supposed to do this after all that, because it wouldn't make sense for the game to give you the best version of a talisman and then a weaker version. And also, if you look at our health, we lost like 60-70% of our health in a single attack there. That's a lot. And yeah, it's a giant bear. But effectively speaking, it's still a normal enemy. It's not a boss. It's not like a mini boss, I don't think. Like, it's a very big enemy, but it's still just a normal enemy. Similar to, like, the Iron Maidens. And I'm wearing the Great Helm, the Godric Knight chest piece and pants, and the Vagabond gauntlets. So it's not like I'm wearing terrible armor. And my health stat is at like 33 points, so it's not like I have very low health either. So here, Bull Goat's Talisman. And what this does is it increases the amount of poise you have. So in Elden Ring, you need 51. And the Vagabond set doesn't hit 51. As you can see, it hits 46. Though, if you throw on the Bull Goat's Talisman, then it hits 61. So, pretty good talisman, especially for like medium armor sets, like the Vagabond set. And since we beat the boss, we don't have to go through the Giga Bear again. We can just teleport out, which is why I went after the boss first. But yeah, so the whole thing with the Flame Drake Talisman +2 and Dragonbarrow being possibly more late game than Landell, there is just like, if you're going to come here, be cautious. So as you can see, we moved out of the cave and headed to the right. So, like I said, be cautious, as the bosses here hit very, very hard. And some of the enemies do as well. So, there's some good loot. Just be careful. I'm just doing this now to clean up the end of Caelid before moving to Altus Plateau. Now, here, if you wait until nighttime, then there will be a boss on that bridge, a Knight's Cavalry. And they drop a popular Ash of War. And so you may want to go after that. Now, as you can see there, we took the Spirit Spring jump, and that gets us access to this rise. We can head up this elevator, and we can head into here, where there's a chest and a memory stone. So, for magic builds, that will allow you to put on another sorcery or incantation. And as you can see here, we have 6 out of 8. And there's one that you can purchase from the Twin Maiden Husks that I have not purchased. So you should have 6 to 7 at this point. And taking the Spirit Spring jump to the other side, you can pick up multiple golden runes, and then you can make your way southwest towards the minor Erdtree. These are Fulgur Bloom. They are a craftable item meant for lightning items. So you may want to pick those up for lightning pots and other such items. Now, here, there's another Putrid Avatar. If you remember, you fought one at the beginning of Caelid. Though, this one, you might be able to see by how little damage we're doing. With a plus 16 weapon. With like 32, 33 strength. With it set to the heavy affinity. So, this boss, you probably don't want to fight at like level 50, 60. You're gonna want some levels before heading into here. Unless you're ready for a boss that can simultaneously take a lot of hits and quite possibly 1 to 2 shot you. It's not impossible, especially not against the Putrid Avatar, as good timing me. I mean, they hit hard, but they aren't exactly a hard fight. As you can see, the most difficult part about them is just the running in circles when they spam the jump attack. Because they were built off the foundation of the Asylum Demon from Dark Souls 1, the tutorial boss in Dark Souls 1. So, even though they're built up a lot more, they still have a very simple foundation, so they aren't too difficult. Though, I still enjoy them as a boss. They get you 91,000 runes, Opaline Hard tier, and Stone Barb Cracked tier. And what those do is boost all damage negation, very good for survivability, and attacks are more likely to break enemy stance, so more stance damage, which, as you can see in that fight, at least for the first half of it, I was relying pretty heavily on breaking their stance for multiple critical hits. Don't forget to grab those, as they do stack up. But now we are going to head north across this bridge with a dragon. Now, you can go across this bridge and up and around, though if you watched this walkthrough up to this point, then you'll probably get the idea by now. I like the direct approach. Just beeline straight towards the target, as it is very fast. And here, there's a set of grace, in case you want to fight the dragon. And the side areas off here, they do have some enemies that drop 1,000 runes each and are pretty easy. And there's also a few items sprinkled about. The most notable one is this one here, which, when we take them out, is a Somber Smithing Stone 9. And then we can head back up the trail. And on that trail, you will get yourself a golden seed. And then you can continue heading up, where there will be another boss. And past them will be a giant door that you can head on through. This will lead you to the Bestial Sanctum and a Site of Grace. And you may want to level up. And here, there will be a new NPC that you can talk to. they want some death root. There are a total of 9, and as you can see up to this point we've gotten 4. You can find them throughout the world, mostly in catacombs or from tibia mariners.
I smell feet. Tarnish, I should feed.
Giving 1 gets you the clawmark seal and the beast eye. The clawmark seal is a sacred seal that boosts off strength and faith and boosts bestial incantations. This is the sacred seal for strength builds. And the beast eye, this lets you know when you're close to a death root.
Feed.
The second one gets you bestial sling, a fairly basic low-level incantation.
Feed.
The third gets you bestial vitality. This is one of my personal favorite incantations. For only 12 faith requirement and 18 FP, it will heal you 600 health, which is very good, and 12 faith isn't hard to get. So this is very good for low magic builds to have a decent healing option. And then the fourth one gets you the Ash of War Beast's Roar. Though his dialogue seemed a little bit different, didn't it? You see, upon giving him the 4th death root, he gets hostile. And he will attack you. And in case you don't know, this is phase 1 of an endgame boss. So he hits very hard. So you may want to be careful. Though, a few hits and he stops.
Bought it I won mine, so please. Bought it I won mine, so please.
And once you teach him a little lesson, then he will go back to being docile, and he will not attack you again. And from there you can head out and to the right, and there's only one more place to go, and that's down. So we can drop down here onto this branch, then we can drop down onto this branch, and you get the idea. The goal is to get down as far as possible, breaking as few limbs as possible. And this can be a bit tricky, though this path that I'm following is one that I found that works pretty well. Though you can't get off your horse while you're here. Don't know why, but the game does not like you getting off your horse here. So you're gonna have to be a bit creative, some may say dangerous, to get down here. Though once you make that drop onto the rocks, that takes some health, then you're good to go sideways instead of down. And here, you'll get the Syncadia, which is a strength-based dagger, which boosts the potency of bestial incantations, similar to the Clawmark seal. And then from there, you can head a little farther down to get the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman. This boosts physical damage negation. Also good for survivability. And from here, there's only one thing left. Or 2 if you really want. And you can head here from Celia Hideaway, or you can follow the path through Dragonbarrow, going to the right instead of left. Though, if you got Celia Hideaway, that is faster. And it's what I'm going to do because of that. So, you make your way up and out of the cave, you take a right, there will be a Spirit Spring jump, and you take this up, and you land by the giant dragon. And you can head past them further east to this site of grace. We'll get to them afterwards, as we're going to do this section first. This is Fort Faroth, and there are 2 items here, which skipping through these, this cluster of bats, whatever you want to call them, you very well may get poisoned here, as they can throw the poison up. But at the top, you can get the Dectus Medallion right. I briefly mentioned where to get the left side. It is in Fort Height in Limgrave, at the end of the Mistwood. And having gotten both of those, you should be able to take the Dectus Medallion from Liurnia of the Lakes into Altus Plateau as the second path into Altus. Though, for now, we can continue on over here, where we can get Radagon's Sower Seal, which is a talisman that we can look at after we get out of this place. So we can drop down, we can run out, we can not deal with all that. And we can sit at the site of grace to de-aggro all those enemies. Now, Radiant Sower Seal increases your health, endurance, strength, and dexterity stats by 5, though you take more damage. And here, all that's left is the giant dragon. And you've probably heard a ton of advice about coming here super early with, like, the Reduvia and just chipping away at their health. But I have an alternative for you. Kill the other dragons. See? 17.5 thousand damage to the big dragon just for killing these smaller ones, and they're already at half health. Now, that being said, if you look at the damage, not something you're going to be doing at level 12. And so this isn't an early game strat for if you need some quick runes. Though it's how I think the developers wanted you to do this. To come here at level 60 on the lowest and fight these smaller dragons in order to chip down the big dragon. And it's not as cheesy, it's not as get around the way the game wants you to play. But I'm a big fan of Elden Ring's dragons. I think they are the best dragon fights in the series. You are perfectly reasonable to disagree with me on that, as I know some of the dragons are quite popular in the other games. But the animations, the attacks, Elden Ring Dragon just feel very smooth to me. Whereas in the other games, I don't know, they feel very clunky to me. Not all of them, just most of them. They feel very rigid, and it feels like you can hit them with a nuke and they'll just stand there and take it, and their health will go down. Their health can go down a lot, but it feels like they won't react to it. Whereas it's clear that Elden Ring dragons react to it. Same with being around their feet. Like the attack where they turn around to bite, or where they turn around to like swing their tail at you, and how they drag their feet across the ground. It feels very fluid. They really feel like dragons. And that's why I'm not skipping any of this. It is a long fight, which I'm not showing this playthrough for the fight. I'm showing it so you can get prepared for the DLC. Though, I am going to be showing this fight against these dragons partially as just a victory lap, partially to show that I am not good at these games, and partially just to take a few minutes to appreciate these dragons, because I love how Elden Ring did them. Both these, I don't want to call them small dragons or lesser dragons, but these like normal dragons, for lack of a better term. And then there's the greater dragons, the ones like Agil and Smarog. And yeah, it can feel like you're fighting the same boss, just with a different element. But I think that's more of an Elden Ring issue rather than the Elden Ring dragon issue. And I'd like to appreciate what we can, where we can. And these are very solid fights. Especially with how, like, on top of everything that I mentioned already, you can also stay by their feet or their wings for safety, or you can go a bit risky and go for the head. And it's harder to get hits on. You're more likely to take damage, but you also do more damage and you get more critical hits. So, with that being said, they go down, you get a ton of runes and 5 dragon hearts, along with a new draconic power available. But with that victory lap out of the way, that's everything in Dragonbarrow. And there's another dragon slowly heading towards us. Hopefully they don't get too close. I wouldn't mind another fight, but still. Here we got the Cincadia, the Godslayer's Greatsword, Clawmark Steel, beast repellent torch. We got the Godskin Apostle set. We got Bull Goat's Talisman. We got Radigan's Sword Seal. We got the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman. Again, Bull Goats. We got another sip of the Flask of Crimson Tears because of the Golden Seeds. And we had to fight some wonderful dragons. So we also got we got to cash our death root in, along with one of my personal favorite incantations because of it, and 2 new physic tiers. And that's about it. I really enjoyed this. I hope you continue to follow me through on this so we can prepare together. And with that being said, yeah.